I love Tony Gwynn. For I just it's I when I started getting into baseball, it was at the start of his career, so it's really, he's one of those icons that I had the privilege to watch from afar. But I mean, you were right there. I was just wondering if you had anything about Tony that you could tell us.
I've got two or three, so you stop me. You're going to have to stop me. You're going to
Nope,
have to say, hey,
nope.
that
We're gonna pull your string and just let you go, Andy. I'm in my glory right
uh,
now. This is fantastic.
in the early 1980s, I had, actually it was 1981, I do remember, and I had decided in order to save San Diego Padres some money, rather than having an advertising firm handle all the advertising, the creative, I was going to do it, which meant I was going to write the commercials, produce the commercials, direct the commercials, and then buy the time on television to show these TV commercials. And what I wanted to do, one of the commercials was a parody of a car salesman here in Southern California, primarily in the LA area. And his name was Cal Worthington. And he had a jingle that said, "Go see Cal, go see Cal." And the commercials that Cal had is he'd be riding an elephant in the parking lot of his car dealership, or he'd be riding a giraffe. He'd be riding some animal. And so I thought this would be perfect to parody this particular commercial, because everyone in Southern California knew what it was. So what I wanted to do was, first I wanted to get his permission to use the actual music, because if he had shut me down on that, then this is not going to work. So I called and spoke to the dealership, and unbeknownst to me, they said, "Hold on, we're going to put Cal on the phone." And so he got on the phone, and he was a good old boy. "Yeah, what are you doing?" And I explained what I was doing, and he said, "Well, who's going to play me," meaning Cal Worthington? And I said, "Well, we're going to get a double to come in and play you." And he said, "No, you're not. If you want to use the music, I'm playing myself." And I thought, great. And he said, "And what am I going to be riding?" And I said, "You're going to actually be riding the San Diego Chicken." And he laughed and he loved it. And he said, and so what's the premise? And I said, "Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have the San Diego Padre players, each one standing in the parking lot in front of San Diego Stadium as if they were cars. And all you can see is the back of each player and their nameplate and their numbers on their uniforms. So you won't be able to see their faces, just their uniform numbers and names." And then the script calls for you going around and you point to the camera, and then you point to each player and you say, "You want speed? We got speed." And you point to Gene Richards. "You want power? We've got power." And you point to Randy Bass. And he says, "I love this. This is great. I'm in." So now my responsibility is to get the players to participate in this. And I know that it's going to be impossible to do, because we're talking about setup, filming. I mean, this is going to be 2 to 3 hours midday. The players are never going to want to participate in that, the hot sun. So I came up with the idea of going to San Diego State, and I spoke to the baseball coach, and I asked him, "If I make a donation to your team, can I have your players come out and get dressed as San Diego Padres, and we'll film this commercial, but I'm going to need them for 2 to 3 hours?" And he said, "Absolutely." Broderick Perkins' uniform was worn by Tony Gwynn.
Okay.
The
I
very
was
first,
waiting for Tony Gwynn to pop up. All right, I'm with you.
And so when people ask Tony, what was your memory the first time you pulled on a Padres uniform? He laughs. He would always give that cackle, that great laugh. And he said, I did a commercial for Andy Strasburg and the Padres, and I played the role of Broderick Perkins. And I'm pretty sure you can go on YouTube and you can see it.
I'm definitely going to have to look that up.
Yeah,
I did find a picture of Cal Worthington as you were talking, because I wanted to write it down. I looked him up, and there he is wearing a suit and a big old cowboy hat, and he's with a tiger for some reason.
There you go.
but
did you have a question?
Well, I was going to say, he looks like a guy. I mean, he looks like a guy just out of Central Casting who would have showed up in used cars with Kurt Russell, and so it just I mean that's fantastic. So, what about Tony with you at the Padres with the Padres?
The second story I have is the day that Tony was drafted and signed to play for the Padres. I just happened to be outside the ballpark, San Diego Stadium, when Tony and Alicia Gwynn were trying to find the entrance. There was no one around. And I said, can I be of help? And I didn't know who Tony was. And they explained to me that he had just been drafted and was coming in for a press conference to sign his contract to start playing for the San Diego Padres. And so I escorted Tony and Alicia Gwynn in and dropped them off at the office, and then went back outside and was doing what I needed to do. So I played a small role, but I'm pretty confident he would have eventually found his way in and signed the contract and become a Hall of Famer. So that is one of my cherished memories. But I do have one final story that I think speaks volumes of who Tony Gwynn was. And that is, we would have a Padres caravan in January prior to the players going to spring training. And this would either happen on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon. And it always consisted of players signing autographs. Well, when Tony's popularity just grew and grew and grew, the line for Tony's autograph would be so long, and it was only a 2-hour session, would be so long that we would have to send somebody in advance of the start so that we could count how many people and put somebody at the end so that Tony would not disappoint the fans. And on this one particular caravan, we did put somebody at the end of the line, but we had miscalculated because, as you know, Tony was extremely personable with fans. And so when they would come up and ask for an autograph, he would engage them in conversation. They had a great experience. And Tony always used to say that his responsibility was to exceed their expectations of meeting him, which I thought, does it get any better than that? Well, on this particular day, the sun was setting, and he stayed 2 hours longer than he needed to because he didn't want to disappoint anybody. And as the sun was setting, he was no longer in the warmth of the January sun. He was now in the shadows. And Tony said, everybody, I'm going to get up, I'm going to move, and you're all going to move with me. And I thought, well, this is not going to happen. There's going to be a mad rush. But they did. To see this long line of fans just move quietly and walk with him so that he was now comfortably back in the warmth of the sun. And there were so many things that were going on there, and I was just an observer.
Thank you to our guest this week. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can find me on the Twitter at Lucifer Olsen. That's L-O-U-C as in cat, I-F-E-R-O-L-S-E-N. Sean, where can the people find you?
Thanks, Lou. As always, you can find me on Twitter at HOVG. And remember, head on over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/HoloVeryGood, and drop us a like. We'll talk to you later.
Later, boners.